Or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Too many shows. Good afternoon, Dallas. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where after 16 years, we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Oh, do we have a great show for you today. We found an expert in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who specializes in functional medicine. And I got to tell you, he is one of the most informative people I have ever spoken to. When we decided to continue on with the show, it just like made my day. We're so lucky to have David Moore come from Integrative Wellness FX. Hey, good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the lovely intro. I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
Well, David, you're amazing. I mean, I just get mesmerized when I'm listening to you. Your patients are so blessed to have you. And by the way, we want to congratulate you again. You have a new baby.
New baby, yep. And so that's been very much my world, and just thinking about pregnancy and rearing a child in this crazy, chaotic world, and thinking about all the ways to maximize and optimize their health and their brains, because there is a lot of things that are threatening that in ways, and through education and knowing what those things are and how to shield them, I think that's a good topic as well. You know, I mean, as the parents, we need to know these things. If we don't, then they can get sick over time. Had more kids actually get sick in the last, 5 years than I've ever seen before. So it's quite the epidemic.
What do you think it is, David?
Yeah, I mean, when you even just think about autism rates, it used to be 1 in 5,000 a few decades ago. Right now it's 1 in 30, and some say 1 in 20 something. In California, it was 1 in 16 boys. So it's pretty extraordinary, the amount of autistic children that are being born. And it's not just because of genetics. There's no way that's the possibility. And I specialize in genetic analysis, and I can tell you that I've looked at hundreds of pages of all the thousands of genetic mutations that are possible in these various kids. And what I see as a pattern over and over is that these kids are simply just more sensitive to the toxic world around us compared to the average person. So there's not a gene necessarily for autism or ADHD. It's just a lot of these kids can't make a certain vitamin, or their detox pathways are a little bit more closed. Something called MTHFR, issues with methylation or glutathione. These are master pathways of detox and repair and healing. And when you just have the little bit of that, and then we live in such a toxic world, these things build up very quickly. And we also have something called generational toxicity, where 25% of your toxic load as a mother goes into the child through just breastfeeding and through pregnancy. And so I'm very passionate about getting women, especially if they're having health issues, to really do some of this detox and repair before they're pregnant, because once you're pregnant, it's very hard to do this deeper work. It's dangerous to use antimicrobials and to really detox some of these metals and toxic things. But if you do it before, the pregnancy is healthier, it's easier, you have more energy, there's less postpartum issues. But then the kids are so much more just resilient and stable in mood, and their brains are less inflamed. They're able to be present and focused. I can't tell you how many times this is not to brag or anything. Just, a lot of people in the last even couple of weeks are saying, oh, your baby is so calm and is so relaxed. And a lot of that is really protecting the child, doing this work with the mother beforehand, my partner, and, just protecting the child from this exposure.
Dave, I'm going to ask you this on a personal note because you brought up autism in children, and
Yeah.
I actually have an autistic, well, she's no longer a child anymore,
Mm.
but it seems like it started after she got shots for school.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, I was one of those parents that I swear it was from mercury. Have any other studies been done on that?
Well, first of all, I tell you that I literally just got off the virtual medicine. I see people virtually here right before the show with an autistic child, and was nonverbal, and she's 12 years old. And when we looked into her labs, we're able to see that there was a very high amount of mercury. And this kid, it was because of just she
Ooh,
ate, 3 or 4 servings of fish every single week. And in some ways, she had the best omega level I've ever seen. So that's the positive, eating all this fish. But, she just had a lot of mercury toxicity because of it, unfortunately. And so there's a lot of misunderstandings of where mercury comes from, and that some fish are good and some not. Is wild better? I think it'd be good to talk about as well. But I think your question is very valid, and it's a controversy. It's one that's being actively discussed right now in Washington. And of course, we have RFK Jr., who is proposing a lot
right.
of data and a lot of the new research of how toxicity is playing a role, and how, vaccinations also are part of this as well. And I'd like to take a more kind of grounded and an in-between kind of perspective of just that there's different things for every patient that is happening for that person. And that's a general kind of baseline principle of functional medicine, that, you might have a disease state and it might be mercury for one person, it might be vaccinations for another person, it might be genetic issues, there might be candida overgrowth and bacterial overgrowth for someone else. There's all types of issues. And a lot of these are combinations of many of these things actually happening. And I can tell
Right.
you that I've had so many patients just that the parents say that there's no development issues, and then they're given all these vaccinations and they went back in progress. There was a message in our moms group to my partner just this week, actually, saying that, oh, we had a vaccination and they're being so irritable and dysregulated and having trouble at school ever since the vaccination. So they cause acute inflammatory responses because there's these thousands of broken down pieces of bacteria that are highly inflammatory to the system. And, I think if someone's really healthy and they don't have many other issues, doing one vaccination, if there's a reason for that, might not be so bad. But when you give 20 something different vaccinations, right when they're born or in the first few months when they're first coming into this world, that is an onslaught of inflammation to someone's immune system that's just developing, that's just, doesn't even have a ripe immune system at this point. So it can create this hyper-inflammatory reactive response that can really increase the risk of other inflammatory and autoimmune disorders. And we know inflammation is the center of a lot of chronic disease. And so if your immune system's so haywire, it's attacking things that it shouldn't, you start getting sensitive to the world, to the foods, to the, stress. And we can only do so much about stress. We can only be so perfect about, foods, but there is things we can do to detox the body. We can fix these root systems of the body. We can kill the candida, for example, and then our bucket is lower. Then we can handle maybe some toxicity exposure and some stress and having some vaccinations. Where this is really triggering it, it's not necessarily the whole sole cause sometimes. It is a trigger, though, because some people have all this inflammation already. Their buckets are already full, and then they get all these vaccinations, and then that can trigger a lot of these responses. So, they have taken COVID off. That's no longer approved for children recently, but they're even taking it larger and really saying that this is more optional. And Florida actually just last week, I don't know if you saw that, but totally has banned all mandates for vaccination. So that's pretty huge. Wow.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, I was surprised, honestly. And I think that Florida and Texas, they have some similar politics and similarities. But when I look at the Texas population, the people that I see and treat, and the general consciousness of what people believe about vaccinations, I feel, I don't think Texas is in the same place that Florida may be to kind of eliminate all mandates. I personally think that it should be in a parent's right to decide kind of what is in their child and what is given to their child, especially if there's research that is showing that there is damage and inflammation, and a lot of these diseases are almost extinct already at this point, and they were pretty extinct even before the vaccinations came on board, which is what we have to really think about. A lot of times people say that these vaccinations are so important and key to prevent, public health issues. And that would be a very good point. But when you look at the actual studies and the timelines of things, you can see that a lot of these diseases had already crashed from just increased sanitation and just other kind of lifestyle improvements of quality of life and health that were happening before these vaccinations entered. And we also have to recognize the vaccinations are a huge piece of money makers for the pharmaceutical industry, where every person is, when it's mandated, is guaranteed so many thousands of dollars, per kid, when they're given that many vaccinations. So, I try to be more moderate, but I can also say that, like, if it's my child, I'm going to try to protect that child to choose the best things for them. And it's not an all or nothing. There's certain times where maybe a vaccination would make sense, but many times that it wouldn't. And each vaccination is like a different drug. You can't generalize and say they're all bad, they're all good. They all have their individual side effects and pros versus cons here.
Well, I haven't told you this, but your numbers of viewers have gone way up. And I've seen with the letters that we've gotten in. And the two most asked questions, I don't know if this will surprise you. One, people would like for you to do a show on some of the things that RFK Jr. is discussing because they don't understand in layman's terms. And the other one is about raising immunity. So we got to do a show on both of those if you don't mind.
Well, we can talk about it right now if you want, but
I got to tell you, I just got over COVID, and I would love to talk about raising the immune system because I was shocked.
Well, I think right now is a perfect time for that. We're in the fall season. We're about to go into winter. And, if you're like a typical American, your vitamin D levels are usually not optimal, even with all the sunlight of the summer months, because we're just not getting outside, one, but it's not even just about sunlight. Sunlight converts cholesterol in your skin, and it has to metabolize into through 3 different steps. First one is sunlight, but it also has to go through your kidneys and your liver as well. And so people's livers are so overwhelmed. This is my theory, because there's not a full explanation, but I can tell you that I have a lot of farmers and people that are in the sun all the time, but their vitamin D levels are still tanked. And so what we understand about physiology is, again, is that it needs to be activated by our liver. And our livers are so overloaded these days because of all this toxicity we're being exposed to, that it's not able to prioritize some of the other important things we really need. And vitamin D activation is one of those. So if you haven't been supplementing with vitamin D, this is a very simple thing. It's a very quick thing. It's very easy and cheap. But we want to start getting level right now in September in preparation for the winter to reduce all risk of COVID or flus and exacerbations there. And what's cool about vitamin D is that it's fat soluble, so you can actually be able to mega dose to be able to catch up. So if you forget a day, you take double the dose the next day. You forget a whole week, you can take a whole week's dose. And when you haven't taken it the whole year, you can take a mega dose of, say, 50,000 to 100,000 for a couple of days just to get that level up real fast safely. You wouldn't want to do that every day, of course. And so, 5 to 10,000, depending on what's going on, is a good level. And, higher inflammatory, if you have autoimmune issues and other complex issues, on the higher end is usually what's good. We try to aim for anywhere from, 50 up to 100, depending on the patient. So that's one simple, easy thing. And people think, vitamin D is just a simple thing, and it is, but it regulates over 300 genes in the genetic code. And it's our connection to the sun, it's connection to the source of life, all itself. And it reduces all cause mortality. So it's not just immune system. Every cause of death, just by having your vitamin D level optimized, you're going to reduce. So it just makes sense. So certain things like vitamin D and omegas, I think everyone needs to be on because they do everything. And there's some other additional things, maybe even like NAC, N-acetylcysteine, in a very toxic world that we live in right now. That's a very cheap, simple, easy supplement that people can take that can support glutathione production, the master antioxidant, master detoxifier of the body. And, you also can see that the FDA tried to outlaw NAC 2 years ago, and they take away things that have competition for their actual industry. So they also tried to take away NAD, which is to make energy in all the cells. There's an anti-longevity to make ATP in every cell of our body. It's kind of a miracle medicine. And they're not going to be successful because NAD is made in our own body. It's a natural substance. They can't patent something that is natural, but they still try. And then in the background, they have multiple patents for NAD to use it and sell it back to us as a pharmaceutical. And they do that with omegas. They do that with various things that are just of the natural world. They modify it slightly by a single atom or something, so it's not natural anymore, and then they can patent it. And sometimes they have more side effects because of this kind of modification of the molecules. And sometimes they're more potent as well, but then they also have more side effects. Yeah.
What is the delivery system, say, on the vitamin D? Are those through over-the-counter supplements, or is it injection?
Well, first of all, yeah, you just want to take vitamin D3, which is the active form, instead of D2. But most, places have converted to that. But back in the day, pharmacies would give the D2, which is not good. The second thing is that you can take it orally. Just a regular one was okay, but you have to make sure you take it with food because it's fat soluble. Otherwise, it's not going to absorb.
Oh,
My practice, we use an emulsified, liposomal form that you put under the tongue that goes directly into the system, and you can take that with or without food.
oh, wow, interesting. Okay. And does that, that's vitamin D. Does vitamin D help with the immune system also?
Yeah, it builds the immune system. It's, again, a connection to the sun, and it helps to modulate almost all of our immune system to be able to, one, be able to attack and get rid of any kind of infectious microbial pathogen, but also it's able to modulate the immune system, which is very important in our world right now. Because when we are in this constant inflammatory storm, this kind of, what's it called? It's almost like a asteroid field of life with just toxicity here and there and everywhere. Our immune systems get very dysregulated, like I talked about. And so needing to have some balance there to not overreact, because a lot of disease is not the actual toxin or the food or the stress. It's our body's reaction to that response. And then when the immune system goes haywire, it starts attacking things it's not supposed to. So vitamin A, D, E, K, these fat-soluble vitamins that a lot of people are very low in, they help modulate the immune system. So you realize who's friend, who's foe. A lot of times they're just attacking yourself, and this helps to retrain the immune system. So another big reason why vitamin D is so important.
Gay in Grapevine just wrote in, I love this show. This is my second time. I am learning so much.
Mhm.
They want to know what type of patients do you normally treat?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, I'm just very passionate about this work. I feel this information, I wish it was taught in a basic nutrition class in school or something, And talking about RFK to
Yeah.
connect things, he's trying to get in for medical schools to be able to include nutrition as a mandatory, at least a couple hours, which I'm kind of
You,
surprised that never been part of the medical curriculum as a mandatory at least. So, as far as what types of patients, I see all types of patients. I mean, as a functional medicine doctor, you do need to know a lot about a lot of things because the body is one unified system. It's a complex system and everything's connected. And so, people come in sometimes for the more things that affect their lives, whether it's, a rash or fatigue or energy or mental health issues or even cancer and other complex autoimmune conditions, gut issues, you name it.
yeah, cancer is another category we seem to get a lot of mail on for your show. I mean, we can do a whole show just on cancer. Does it, you get so many patients that went to their doctor and they said, I know there's something wrong with my body. I can feel it. And the doctor runs all these tests and said, there's nothing wrong with you. And then they come to you, David, and you find the source of what's wrong.
Yeah. Well, we covered this in the last show, just a little bit about, why that is, but, very briefly to not repeat, you can go back and listen to that. But there's just lab work. We use a lot of advanced functional medicine diagnostics to really assess what is actually causing the issue. And so our baseline labs looks at all the nutrients, minerals, and vitamins and antioxidants in the system. We know exactly what's missing. We're not guessing. Looks at gut measures, fungus, bacterial overgrowth, malabsorption, toxicity, metals, mitochondrial energy production, metabolism, genetics. And so we're able to see a biochemical snapshot on top of just the normal labs, but much more comprehensive. And I also look at genetics. So I'm able to see, okay, what is your disposition as the human walking this earth in this toxic world? What kind of foods might be better for you? What kind of things that are you not able to make yourself nutrient wise as well? So you have to maybe focus on foods more, take a supplement very easily to kind of just fix that problem, prevent that disease. So a lot of things that we can do. Lab work's one of them. Diagnosis of just, yeah, there's just a lot of pieces here. When you only see something as a one system and you only have a toolkit that is very small, and the toolkit is just drugs, and drugs are very good at doing one simple thing very well, very strongly, but because of that have a lot of side effects. Where these natural medicines have many different molecules in it that have a very coordinated effect to not help so strongly, but actually build systems over time. That's why a lot of natural medicine is done twice per day over a couple months to fix things here. But we actually keep those gains instead of just suppressing those. And those people can come off those supplements if we actually fix the root problem. But, we don't
Well,
use just drugs. We have nanoparticles and advanced peptide therapy, which is a whole new field of medicine. I would love to have a segment to talk about these cool peptides that just heal up tissues. Something like the Wolverine peptide just recovers any, you have an injury or you have something that's a broken bone or something, or you have even your gut is damaged, your kidneys are damaged. We can give you peptides to just repair and heal things. Something called exosome therapy, which are derived from stem cells. They're messaging molecules that are micro mRNA and mRNA and growth factors, just repair tissues wherever we inject it or put it in through IV or directly into the brain. So my point here is just, we have nutraceuticals, we have nanoparticles, we have peptides, we have all these different array. I use a lot of technologies and things as well. And so we're not stuck to just using a medication. While a lot of my doctors will use medications sometimes in very specific situations. So, there is a place for it. But when you only have a hammer, they
Dave-
say everything's a nail, right?
Yes. Hey, David, tell people how they can make an appointment to see you.
Yeah, Integrative Wellness FX, that's the name of our clinic. I'm Dr. David Morcom and a functional medicine doctor here. So just go onto our website, www.integrativewellnessfx.com, or call us at 469-333-1298. And we're happy to help you with whatever is ailing you and get you back to health.
And if you're out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, do you also do Zoom medical?
Yeah, we do virtual telemedicine as well all across the country, and we can send supplements directly to patients. We do labs locally too. We do mobile phlebotomy to even send it to your house if it's more convenient.
Well, the great news is David's got another show this month, and I've got a ton of questions that I was going to ask him, but we wanted to get your questions in. David, I love doing your show. You are so informative. You are so different than I've been doing the show for 16 years, and we are so lucky to have you. It's Integrative Wellness FX, 469-333-1298, and we will be letting you know when David's going to be back on with us again. Plus, David's on with us every month. Thank you, David.
All right, take care. All the best. Have a blessed day.
Give that baby a hug.
I will, for all of you.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.
That's David Morcom, Integrative Wellness FX. Amazing. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.